Hey guys, today I'm going to chat about some fitness myths and misconceptions that float around, and hopefully if they're a question that you have, that we can get rid of the myth and put in place some correct information. Now, the fitness industry is full of lots of dogmas, myths, misconceptions, ideas, things that people think are true based on some fact or another. But in reality, we want to look down to nutrition and physical science and complete understanding before we start agreeing to some of these myths. Now, the number one myth that floats around is that, well, this one's been more eradicated recently, is that lifting weights makes women bulky. So lifting weights is what builds lean muscle on your body, so that tone and definition that you're often wanting comes from muscle. Now, if you don't lift weight, you're not going to build or overload your body's muscles to make them want to grow. It's called hypertrophy. Now, what happens instead is a lot of people either lift light weights or do lots of cardio, but that doesn't build the shape that the women are looking for, and instead either makes them a smaller version of themselves or it doesn't build the muscle mass that they desire. So of course you don't get the look. So lifting weights is definitely not going to make women bulky. In fact, that is the one area you should definitely be including into your exercise every single week. Now, if you are thinking about those bigger women, either bodybuilders or CrossFit athletes, they do a very high volume of exercise and they eat a lot of calories. So unless you're planning to do that, you're not about to look bulky. Plus, as for looking like men, women do not have the same testosterone ratio as men, so will never have the same shape or form. So hopefully that gets rid of that myth. Next one's kind of similar, is women should do different exercises to men. So oftentimes women say that they should have a women specific program. So, doing higher reps, different exercises, no big lifts. But really women should still do the big lifts. They should lift in strength ranges, so lower rep ranges, even like 6-8 reps, or sometimes even powerlifting style reps of 1 to 3. That is fine as well. You want to make sure that you're following a program that is based on your goals. And for most women, as I said before, it's to get toned, defined, lean, lose body fat. So you need to be doing strength training. A lot of programs that guys choose to follow, so basic strength training with hypertrophy rep ranges, full body, are perfect for women. The only difference may be, depending on the area you're wanting to develop, you may do a little bit more volume in that area. So say if you're wanting to improve your glutes and legs, you may do a lot more glute isolated work and leg isolated work, whereas guys do a lot of drop sets on biceps, triceps. So that's the only way that that's a little bit different, okay? So women should still lift heavy weights, still follow similar protocols to guys. They just do not have the amount of testosterone that is necessary to build the shape that guys do. So instead, they'll just be their own awesome female version of strong. Cool? So hopefully that clears up those myths a little bit more. Next one is, some people think that they have to change up their workouts to shock the body. So they use different workouts every week, keep it fresh, make sure they don't get bored, and also make sure their body stays on top of it. Now, while the principle of progressive overload is what we follow in strength training, is to slowly overload the body to make sure that it's giving a better stimulus to develop and get stronger. That doesn't mean you need to switch everything up every few weeks. In fact, that's probably not a great way to see if you're actually getting any stronger. So the best way is to follow a dedicated program for a period of time, usually a month to 6 weeks is good, to slowly see an increase in your strength, an increase in your muscle mass, and make sure that you're slowly improving your form and technique as well. Usually I like to follow a strength program for that time, and then I'll switch it up with whatever my new goal is. Whether it's the same goal, I just do a different program of the similar format, or if it's a new goal, then I'll switch it up a little bit. The only one that doesn't really apply to this is if you're doing HIIT, you can mix it up each time. The point of HIIT is to slowly increase your cardiovascular fitness. So for strength training, you want to try and follow a program for a certain period of time and see your change through progressive overload. Then the next one is you can spot reduce fat by working it out. So fat is a completely different substance to muscle in your body, and fat doesn't turn into muscle. When you build muscle, it forms that shape behind your body. It's like shoulders, abs, glutes. That's the shape, comes from your muscle. But the actual layer on top is body fat, and you can't just work out your abs and then all of a sudden the fat will disappear from that area. You have to have a calorie deficit. You have to make sure that you're eating the right amount of food to reduce your body fat, and that will expose the muscle that is underneath. So definitely still train your whole body to improve the shape of that area, but if you're wanting to see the definition and the actual muscle, then it comes from your nutrition. Cool, hope that makes sense. Training fasted burns more fat. A lot of people do this well, I've got a few arguments on this, but first thing is training fasted technically doesn't burn any more calories than if you're training fed. There's a few different things with hormones and insulin that may be improved by training fasted, but in the long run, that's not going to actually improve your overall body composition, because your goal is to be at a calorie deficit over the week, and then your strength training is supposed to build muscle. Now, if you're someone who finds that you get a bit sick, but you like to train in the morning, sick if you've eaten, but you like to train in the morning, that's totally fine. Go for it. I'm actually personally someone who loves training fasted in the morning. I don't mind it. But I'm also aware that that doesn't mean that I'm going to burn more calories or have more energy than if I trained later in the day. In fact, most people do find they have more energy and they have more stamina if they have eaten. And so that means they're actually going to get more out of their workout, burn more calories, and build more muscle because they've overloaded their muscle more. So training fasted doesn't burn any more fat than it does training in a fed state. Next one, training more will make you lose more fat. Well, to a certain degree, you need to be training a certain number of times a week to be building muscle, losing body fat, all that jazz that we've been talking about. But overtraining is also a thing that can increase your cortisol levels and stress your body out, so that you are actually going to want to eat more. You're going to be overly tired. Your body's going to be fluidy and stressed and tends to hold on to fat a lot more, or your stubborn fat stores. So training too much can actually cause too much stress onto your body. So try and find that Goldilocks principle of enough times per week that is seeing your results, but not too much. If you're training a higher frequency per week, so say 5-6 times a week, then you want to probably be splitting up your workouts a little bit more, so your overall volume in the week is high enough but you're still recovering. Whereas if you're training less per week, you want to make sure you're training enough to still get your stimulus, but you're not pushing it to the limit where you're almost dying, okay? You want to make sure that you can recover and then go back to the next week with energy to smash workouts again. Try not to just destroy yourself 2 times a day, every day for 7 days a week. You won't get to your goals that way. There's a myth that you can burn off what you eat. So a lot of people like to track the amount of energy they do when they exercise, but the thing with that is you don't exactly know what number that is. So if your Fitbit says that you burnt 250 calories and then you walk 10,000 steps, you don't actually know if that's correct. So you can't just eat that amount extra on your day or think that you're going to burn that out of your daily intake. Try and stick to your overall calculation for your calories is based upon your average activity levels anyway. Try and stick to that number per week and use that as your overall calorie number for the week to get to your goals, whether that's maintenance, surplus, or deficit. Don't try and constantly calculate how much extra energy you've done each day and try and get it down to nothing. And on the flip side of that, don't try and burn off as many calories as you've eaten in a day. So if you've only eaten 1,500 and then you've gone for a big old walk and you've trained and done a class, you're going to end up in a humongous, I don't even know how you'll live. You'll have no calories left to survive. Even your brain needs a certain number of calories per day to live, plus the energy on top of that to exercise, to move around, and your daily activity. You need to make sure you're eating enough for that and you're not burning all of that away, because that's going to end you in a bit of a hormonal hole. So try and make sure that you're looking after yourself in that way. Hopefully that clears up a couple of myths, guys, and gives you a bit more of an idea as to reinforcing some of the ideas we talk about in Powerful.